Hey everyone, it's Ashley from Art Summits, and Reeves is a really popular brand of introductory watercolor paints. They have a lot of fun colors to choose from, but unfortunately it's often sold out of stores and online. And today I wanted to show how to create one of their really popular colors that a lot of people like, and that is their peach color. So their peach color is this one here, and on a swatch card it looks like this. So the first step in matching a color is to determine where it lies on the color wheel. And peach, I think, can be a tricky color sometimes because a lot of people tend to lean more towards pink with it, but it's actually really a light orange. And so if we look here on our little color wheel chart, we can see that the closest colors are kind of in this red-orange or orange range. And so we want to find the general place where this color lies on the color wheel first, and then we can kind of work on the value or the lightness and darkness and the saturation, which is how bright or how muted the color is. I'm going to work in this video only with primary colors just to show you that it is possible to make a really pretty peach color from red and yellow. So like I said, this is the peach color swatched out and dried, and this is what it looks like in the palette and after it's dried. So what I'm going to do is just grab some more of this and do another swatch here so you can see what it looks like when it's wet and how that differs from how it looks when it's dry. Hopefully you can tell there's actually a little bit of a chalky consistency, and that's actually really common with inexpensive paints. Pigment is expensive, and so in order to keep the cost low for student grade or introductory grade paints, they need to add a filler to it, which is usually like some kind of opaque, chalky type filler. And that actually makes a lot of cheaper watercolor paints more similar to gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, in terms of the opacity. So you'll see in a minute what we're going to do here is we're going to actually add a little bit of white gouache to the mixture that we're going to create to kind of mimic this more opaque nature that this Reeves Peach has. So that's what it looks like when it is wet and when it's dry, and we're going to start with red and yellow because that's what makes orange. So first I'm going to start with a bright orange, which would be using a red similar to this one and adding a yellow similar to this one. You can see I've already got these colors here on my palette. And these are Daniel Smith paints, so they're going to be pretty vibrant. And they're going to be darker too because peach is a lighter version of orange. So I'm going to mix it until it looks similar to a darker version of peach. And then adding some more water. That's too orange. Adding a little bit more water and some more yellow, we can tone that down. And as you see, as we start to get lighter, it starts to look more like that peachy color, and I think I still want to add even more yellow to this. And so what's really going to make a difference is adding some white gouache. Now if you have a set of watercolor tubes, often they will come with white like this. This is from the Arteza set of watercolor tubes, and it has this color called titanium white, and it really is just gouache. So if I just add a little bit of white gouache to this mixture, you can see how that really kind of dulled it down almost, and that really got a lot closer to the color that we're trying to mix. There we go. That's pretty close. So maybe a tad bit brighter than the Reeves Peach. And so what I want to show you next is how we can mix it using making a more dull or muted orange. And so we'll be using a different combination of red and yellow. I'm going to start with this yellow here and add a bit of this magenta color. And that's going to make orange, but it's going to be a less bright version of orange. But the difference between bright and muted oranges is pretty negligible. So whereas when you're mixing other secondary colors like green or purple, the bright and the muted versions are really different from each other. I'm going to keep this close here so I can reference that. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that white gouache to this mixture and see if I can get close. And hey, that looks pretty close right there. So there we've just recreated Reeves Peach using primary colors. Now I was using Daniel Smith paints here, but we can also do this with other inexpensive brands like the Arteza ones. So I've got a couple of different versions of red and yellow, and we can play around with these and see if we can make a similar color. So I've added 4 different types of Arteza watercolors. I've got lemon yellow, crimson red, scarlet red, and yellow ochre. And I'm going to try and recreate this peach color. So I'll start maybe with these 2 since they're right next to each other. And this might not be a good combination because this yellow ochre is actually more of a muted color. But we'll see where this takes us. And this is part of color mixing, is swatching and playing with colors until you finally find the right combination. I'm going to add some white here. If I add a bit more water to this, we're getting actually pretty close to the peach color. And then if I add a touch of that white, actually that's pretty nice. That's not too far off of the peach, this lighter section of it here. And so if we were to add more white, we would definitely get there. So somewhere between these 2. So that's using those 2 versions of red and yellow from Arteza. And then let's try the other ones and see what we can get. This is crimson red and lemon yellow. And I should have started with the yellow because that's a lighter color, but let's see if we can make a nice orange and then lighten that up to a peach. So that's getting pretty close. And if we add some white to make it a bit chalkier, there we go. That looks nice. That's pretty close to Reeves Peach right there. So that's all there is to it. Color mixing can be really fun. It's actually a really fun thing to do when you don't feel like painting an entire project, but you just want to put some paint onto paper and play a little bit. I would definitely recommend swatching out some colors. If you don't know the difference between warm and cool colors, or you have trouble discerning what colors are warm and cool, definitely check out Stop Making Mud, my color mixing class. I'll put a link below this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.